Melissa, thanks for joining us today. I'm Diya and I'm the senior manager at Trip 101, handling editorial. Melissa, I just want to know a little bit about yourself first because I've read your profile and it seems that you've been guiding for a long time now and it's a passion for you, right?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I've been guiding at least 11 years,
Wow.
even though before that I was a teacher locally and school librarian. So you could count school field trips as guiding as well, the small groups, but big groups of small people. But yes, I've been guiding a number of years. I've also been a National Park Service park ranger guide. So I've done that for several seasons as well as a guide in my hometown at St. Louis. Mhm.
hmm So today we're talking about St. Louis, right? We do have a bunch of questions that and we want to pick your brains about it because it's so essential to have somebody from the place talk about it because no matter how much we search online, we don't really get answers to all the questions that we have when we are planning a trip. So yeah, I think let's start with the first category, which is very important in travel decision making. That is the travel logistics, right?
Right.
Let's say somebody is coming from the airport. So how far is the city center from the airport?
So, city center, I would consider our downtown neighborhood. So, first of all, St. Louis is pretty spread out. We have just under 3 million people, but we have 79 neighborhoods within St. Louis. So, downtown is probably what we would consider the city center. And so that would be, I believe it's about 17 minutes from the airport. St. Louis International Lambert Airport. And you can get there taxi, Uber, Lyft. We have a Metrolink as well, which is a subway system. Um, so that's available. The Metrolink, though, would take you about 52 minutes.
Okay, that gives us a fair idea. And what are the cities that are close by that the tourists like to visit?
Sure. So St. Louis, like I said, we're kind of spread out, but we're also considered kind of a small, big city. So there are several day trips you can take around St. Louis that would be very feasible if you have your own vehicle. Cahokia Mounds is just across the river in Illinois from Missouri and across the Mississippi. There's the Great River Road, which also goes up the Mississippi River. It's a beautiful drive up to Pure Marquette Park, and that's a really nice area as well. There's historic St. Charles. This is where Lewis and Clark left from on their trip west up the Missouri River. Lots of historic buildings there, lots of history. And then Springfield, Illinois is another Illinois town just across the river that's about an hour and a half outside of St. Louis. That particular town is where Abraham Lincoln lived for a while and worked as a lawyer. So a lot of history there as well. So those are just different cities that you could go to on a day trip if you really wanted to.
Right, that really sounds lovely. And how do people get there? Like, how do they travel to these nearby places?
Well, for those particular cities, some of them you can actually take Amtrak to, which is local. You could even do Kansas City. We have the Missouri Runner, which heads over from St. Louis to Kansas City. But mainly the cities that I just mentioned, you would want a private vehicle most likely.
Hire it for the entire day.
Yes, or if you drove, if you had driven to the city. We're in the Midwest. A lot of people drive to St. Louis. So,
Right. Yeah. And how about the city? Like, what's the best way for tourists to travel and get around within the city?
well, honestly, walking is the best way downtown. Downtown's got a lot of one-way streets. It's a little difficult to navigate if you're driving, but walking's really the best way. Other than that, Metrolink, but we also have a really cool service called Labyrinth Mobility. I understand they have a new app coming out, and they run Monday through Friday, 9 to 7, and they'll take you anywhere downtown for free.
That sounds
So
convenient.
that's a really nice service.
Yeah. And which among these would be the cheapest? It would walking aside. Um,
Right, walking aside. Well, that Labyrinth Mobility, of course, and then the Metrolink. Metrolink, I understand, I think is like $2.50 for one way, but it's $5 for an all-day pass. And
Mm.
that'll take you anywhere around downtown to Forest Park, where all of our cultural institutions are housed.
Right. And are there other passes like the Metro Pass that, that sort of like works out as a cheap alternative to travel?
Just that one day adventure pass. It's by for bus and rail, and it's $5.
Mm-mm. Okay, that sounds, yeah, better than paying $250 each way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And especially if you decide to go to several places throughout the day. Unfortunately, we don't have like a hop on, hop off trolley that some cities have. So that would be nice to have.
Yeah. And you said that a lot, right? So I'm assuming there will be a lot of like car rentals available. Can you name a few for our readers and our viewers?
Sure. In the downtown area where we're talking about, there's three specifically, Enterprise, Avis, and Budget. I've used Enterprise on several occasions, and they've been great. I have not used the Avis or Budget, but the Enterprise I have.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, apart from the rentals, for ride-hailing apps, right? So which
Mhm.
are the most popular apps, that the tourists can just download on their phone? I guess Labyrinth Mobility would be one.
It
Apart,
is, yeah. As far as I know, that's really that and the Metrolink app would be the most beneficial to download. Uber and Lyft, of course, but those are really the main two within the city, Metrolink and Labyrinth Mobility.
all right, and we'll go to the next topic, which is my favorite, food and dining. Uh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
We have so much good food in St. Louis. Yeah, it's a good thing you can only see my head up. No,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm not.
So
No, it's just so much good food
keep
here, of
cooking
course.
for
So
us all day, every day. So you should be good.
yeah, yeah.
Melissa, what are the best snacks that you should always try when you get to St. Louis? That's something that shouldn't be missed at all.
Sure. So one of my favorite dishes is toasted ravioli, which sounds amazing and is amazing. It's a little bit of a disguise because it's not exactly toasted. It's really fried ravioli, but they put Parmesan cheese on top and you dip it in marinara sauce, meat sauce, and it's great. We have a local pizza place called Emo's Pizza, IMO, Emo's. Great toasted ravioli. I think the best, but mostly you can get that as an appetizer at most places. And then from there, you might want to try the barbecue.
Mhm.
Now, there's a little bit of difference in the barbecue here and then in Kansas City, Missouri, because both are known for the barbecue, but St. Louisans consume more barbecue than any other place in the United States. And
Wow.
that's because more barbecue sauce, I should specify. And that's because we do a lot of barbecuing at home. So when people ask, where's the best barbecue? I always say, well, my backyard, because that's that's exactly what we do is we do a lot of barbecuing. But also, let's see what other things. We are the inventor of the waffle cone, ice cream cone from the 1904 World's Fair. So any of our ice cream establishments are going to get you one of those, as well as our neighborhoods. I mentioned one of them is what we call the Hill, which is the Italian neighborhood. And you're going to get outside of Italy and New York, best Italian food you're going to find. So definitely want to try to have lunch or dinner at one of those restaurants while you're visiting here.
Which is your favorite local market for trying local food?
Um, so for trying local foods, Emo's Pizza, very good. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, we do have this really great dessert called gooey butter cake.
Oh, wow.
And basically, it's yellow cake mix and butter. It's like a two ingredient cake, except there's a little bit of sugar on it. It's nice and baked, very crusty and toasty. So you can get that at Gooey Louie's, and just about any place as well for dessert. But aside from that, there's a really nice restaurant in downtown St. Louis called the Fountain on Locust. And I understand they were voted best service in 2023 from Feast magazine. But they have homemade soups and just really great representative of St. Louis fare.
Wow. You made me really hungry. Breakfast sounds
Oh
really.
yeah, yeah.
That all sounds so amazing. Yeah, I would love to try all of that. Definitely the
Yeah.
last the buttered toast that you talked about.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that gooey butter cake really is amazing.
Cake, right?
Yeah.
That sounds decadent. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now this is so in Asia we have like lots of convenience stores for snacks and stuff. So is it the same for St. Louis?
Um, there's the typical Walgreens, CVS, those type of convenience stores around town. Downtown, we have basically one major grocery store. That's our Schnucks Culinaria grocery store. And then there's what's called a Dollar General Extreme or a DGX. And you can usually get whatever you need from either the grocery store or that Dollar General if you're downtown.
Okay. How about vegan and gluten-free food? Is it easily available?
Yeah, I think so, especially nowadays more so than before. I did make a list of a couple things that I thought were a couple places which were important. Rooster is a downtown restaurant that serves breakfast and lunch until 2 o'clock. um, Aubergine, BLTs, which is actually breakfast, lunch, and tacos.
Oh,
Oh man, they have a hipster taco that will knock your socks off. It's great. On a gluten-free tortilla with beans and sweet potato and avocado. It's fantastic. And then there's an Asian bistro down on Washington called Sentai Asian Bistro, and they have really good gluten-free dishes as well. So there are options for sure.
yeah, that's really helpful to know. A few names will really help our readers and the viewers find things
Yeah.
well. And how about like restaurants for families traveling with kids? Is it popular to find a place with like kid meals and menu and high chairs?
Yeah, I can't think of a place that doesn't have, that doesn't cater to families or have what you've mentioned, high chairs or kids menus. I don't think I've ever been to a place in St. Louis that didn't have a children's menu. We're a very family oriented community to begin with.
How about the bars? Do they also allow children?
Well, certain bars, their laws don't allow under 21.
Mm.
Um, so we do have a really nice new place that's just opened up in downtown St. Louis called the Armory, which was an armory for many years historically, but they've turned it into this really large restaurant with great TVs and games and such, and a bar. And that is an establishment that would be over 21 only. So,
Mm.
but there are plenty of places that allow for the under 21 crowd for sure.
Right, makes sense. And which are your favorite restaurants?
Oh, well, I already mentioned the Fountain on Locust and Emo's for hometown toasted ravioli. So those, a couple of the barbecue restaurants that I didn't mention, Pappy's and Bogart's, are both excellent, very good. And then there's Sugar Fire downtown, as well as Salt and Smoke, which is over near the Bush Stadium, near our baseball park.
So these are all cuisine or international cuisine.
Sentai, I really like the Sentai Bistro on Washington, and a couple of the French places, Aubergine, I think is the name of the one. It's hard for me to pronounce. St. Louisans have a very hard time pronouncing French words, even though we were founded by the French. So, yeah, but Sentai really is great, and then there are several others.
Okay, sure. Do you usually make reservations to find a place, or do they allow walk-ins commonly?
Yeah, actually, most places are walk-in. We really don't require or even allow. They're more so not allowing reservations. Now, if you have a party of 10 or more, there are a lot of places downtown that will accommodate that, and they would appreciate a heads up or a reservation. And a lot of times you can do that through Open Table or Resi or the restaurant itself by calling.
Okay, yeah. Just a random quick question, but probably it's important for the readers. Is tap water safe there? Or do they need to stick to bottled waters?
No, yeah, tap water is so important. So you may know that we have one of the largest breweries in the world here, Anheuser-Busch Brewery. And so we've always been a brewery town. We have caves underneath our downtown system. Missouri is actually called the Cave State. And so a lot of the brewers used to put their beer in the caves to keep it cold. And so we really have some of the best water in the country because we have a lot of breweries here to make the best beer.
Wow, that's
So,
an interesting fact also. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I think we're done with food and dining. Let's move on to a little more serious topic. That's health and medical. Very important,
Uh,
especially for tourists. So, I just want to know how's the medical situation there, and what is the situation for emergencies actually?
we have some of the best medical facilities in the country. We have the Washington University Medical Campus, which is the Barnes Jewish Christian system. And then there's also the Shriners Hospital and St. Louis Children's Hospital and St. Louis University Hospital System. So we're pretty set for hospital systems. Unfortunately, in terms of 24-hour systems, you're going to really be looking more for an urgent care type facility that would be open. A lot of them are only open until 10 p.m. So you would find yourself probably going to an emergency room at one of the hospital facilities if it was after that time.
Right. Emergency contact numbers that they should have on their phones all the time.
911.
Yeah, that's a one-stop number, right?
Yeah.
For
Yep.
fire, ambulance, or anything.
Exactly.
Okay, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, is over-the-counter medicines available easily, just for like general cough and cold or a little bit of a flu, or do they really always ask for prescriptions?
No, they're easily accessible. Like I said, with through Walgreens or CVS, there's almost one on every corner, and then, like I said, downtown, that Schnucks Cullen area, has a pharmacy.
Let's talk about connectivity then. Do you suggest that, tourists should get a local SIM card when they're visiting St. Louis?
I'm not sure about the way the international phone system works, but I don't think that you need a SIM card when you're here.
Okay, so you mean every place is like widely covered under Wi-Fi, so they can just catch on to the Wi-Fi and
Yes.
call each other or text each other.
Yes, yes. There's almost every place has Wi-Fi. I was in the Cafe de Blair on 4th Street downtown for lunch. I stopped in to get a smoothie and I noticed they had Wi-Fi and I thought, oh my gosh, even this small little, cafe has Wi-Fi. So yeah, it's everywhere. I think almost it's impossible not to find it, So, and the Gateway Arch National Park has even now has Wi-Fi when it didn't when they first remodeled a couple of years ago. So
But would it make sense for them to get a local SIM card? Let's say if they were traveling heavily, they were on the road, and they needed connectivity.
I don't see any reason why not to have one.
Okay, so
You know, I mean, if you want to be prepared.
but if you have any idea, would it be cheaper for tourists to get it at the airport or at the local stores, at the departmental stores?
I see what you mean. There is definitely a store at the airport in Terminal 1, not so much Terminal 2. So you could be prepared for that. If you're coming in Terminal 1, there would be a store available, but otherwise you would Walgreens or CVS, those establishments sell that type of technology.
Hmm. Do you have any idea that the airport would charge more money rather than the local stores?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I've done a little shopping there. I bought a purse once at the airport store. Didn't seem to be, any more expensive than normal. So, and I'll buy snacks every now and then, so I don't think so.
Okay. Moving on to currency, the currency exchange, which is so important for the travelers. So, what's the best place to exchange your currency in St. Louis?
There's actually a currency exchange building downtown on Olive. It's called the Olive Street Currency Exchange, and that's the most convenient place downtown for currency exchange. Now, in terms of using credit cards or cash for local transactions, a lot of establishments are going to credit card only, so you should be prepared for that. But you always want to have cash on hand for tipping, in certain situations at restaurants or the airport, or if you're doing a tour or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's move on to travel advisory for St. Louis. So, are there any restrictions on what they can bring to the country or not?
I would definitely just check with your airline that you're flying with, before you pack anything or bring anything to the airport. They're gonna know better than I would.
Yeah, it's always safe to check with authorities. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are some of the common scams that they should look out for?
If you do end up driving to St. Louis, make sure that you leave any electronics or anything important, luggage, anything you might have, anything you do not want to get stolen, leave it in the hotel, leave it in your room, or make sure it's out of sight or there's no access to your vehicle. There has been a history of break-ins to vehicles in the downtown area, especially. So that is one thing you definitely want to watch out for.
How safe is the city, especially for solo travelers?
Oh, so just like any big city, we're suffering with gun issues here in the United States. Lots of mass shootings and things like that. I hate to say it, but you always have to be prepared where you're at. Make sure you know your surroundings. Don't travel alone. Try not to travel at night by yourself. Just be prepared for any type of situation. But I don't know that our city would be considered any less safe than any other big city. Again, just be prepared as you would in any other big city.
Right. Yeah, it's always just to be prepared and, to be on the watch and not be careless. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, I know my dad used to travel a lot and he had his wallet stolen several occasions on, overseas on big trips. And it's like you just have to learn where to put those things so they don't get stolen. But I don't hear of many pickpocketing situations like that here.
Yeah, that's good to know. So, is it advisable that you buy any of the activity or transportation passes in advance before you've entered St. Louis? So is it better to reserve them in advance, or is it okay to get them in the city as well?
It's okay to get them in the city. Again, if you want to be prepared, there's no reason not to go ahead and get things in advance. But I don't know that, again, we're not that big of a city that we're going to sell out of certain things like that. So.
Oh, okay, that's great. Yeah. And speaking of like all the things to do and the attractions, so is there anywhere that warrants a restriction in dress code, like for any religious places or anything that people should be aware of?
Not so much dress code, but to dress comfortably in certain places. Like, for instance, if you're going to the Gateway Arch, the museum is notorious for being very cold because there's a lot of electronics in the museum. So they have to keep it very cold. And so, in a hot summer day, a lot of people come in shorts and t-shirts, and then they're too cold, and so you have to remember to dress in layers or bring a sweater or jacket with you, even if you're not expecting bad weather. Remember, you're going to be inside, and the air conditioning is going to be going full blast at a lot of places. I do know there one specific dress code if you're going. I mentioned Anheuser-Busch earlier. If you're doing a tour at the Anheuser-Busch Brewery, there are two restrictions. You have to have closed-toed shoes. No sandals are allowed, and no backpacks or backpack-type purses. So those are restrictions. So do check on any tours that you're taking that things like that might come up. Um, but that's what I would say. I would say just be aware of the weather and dress for the weather and wear appropriate shoes and clothing for where you're going for the day.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Really good tip. It has happened to me too. Like I've gone somewhere and then it was too cold and I couldn't really enjoy the place. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Too cold. There is such a thing as being too cold. So
And what are the most popular places that, tourists would definitely love to visit, but even locals love it?
number one, the Gateway Arch. Everybody loves to go to the Arch. It is quite a feat of engineering, and locals love to take people there when they have visitors in town. So the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. We have a brand new aquarium that just came 5 years ago, and that's been very popular. A lot of hands-on activities at that aquarium. We're very fortunate that in Forest Park, we have 5 cultural institutions that are free. The St. Louis Zoo, the Art Museum, the History Museum, the Science Center, and the Planetarium. And so they're very frequent. I think the latest statistic I heard was that Forest Park sees about 12 million visitors a year. So those are, and a lot of them are locals, you know. So the Magic House, City Museum, Missouri Botanical Garden. People think the Missouri Botanical Garden is their own personal garden here in St. Louis. They've been, it opened in 1859, so it's a beautiful garden, and we're all very proud of it. So those are just a couple places I think that locals like to show off.
Which is your favorite?
Oh gosh. I guess the City Museum, I'd have to say. The City Museum is really incredible. The gentleman who built the City Museum basically built it to show that everything has an infinite lifespan. So anything that has been torn down or made something else in St. Louis, he has had it shipped to this particular museum, and there's so much different architecture and different remnants of things in St. Louis that the history is incredible. There's slides and mosaics and an aquarium and other animals and a circus. There's a circus inside this building, this museum. So it's fantastic. Yeah, that's probably my favorite. I love to show off the City Museum.
That's really unique. Circus inside the museum. Yeah.
It is. It's a very unique place.
Yeah. And what are some of the lesser known places that that are equally lovely, but people don't know about it, so they don't end up visiting those places?
Well, one of the most confusing situations here in St. Louis is that we have two cathedral basilicas, Catholic churches, and they're both very historical and one of them contains the largest collection of mosaics over here in the Western Hemisphere. So um, one of them is called the Cathedral Basilica of St. Louis, and the other is called the Basilica Cathedral King of France, but people get them confused. But you really should visit both of them if you have a chance. So I'd say those in particular are hidden gems within the city. One's downtown and one's in the neighborhood of the Central West End. So there. Purina Farms. Purina Farms is a company that it's just about 40 minutes outside of St. Louis, and they have a pet show and barns and places for children to see the animals, and that's very nice. That's a great place to take the family. Other hidden gems, Shaw Nature Reserve is a part of the Missouri Botanical Garden, and it's also about 40 minutes outside of St. Louis. Also, it's got about 14 miles of hiking trails. It sits on the river. It has wetlands and a wildflower garden. Just a really nice outdoor place. We also have a really cool park called Lone Elk Park, where you can see the wild bird sanctuary, and you can also see bison there. A lot of people come and want to know if there's any bison in the Midwest in St. Louis, and that's a particular park where you can see that, where you can see them. So Route 66. Route 66 locations in St. Louis. We have many different routes. Route 66 goes from Chicago all the way to Santa Monica, California. And in St. Louis, there's like 4, 5, 6 different routes because of the way the highway was built in the different time periods. So the arch is on Route 66. So if you get there, at least you've hit one of the routes, you know.
That's nice. Yeah. Thanks for disclosing the names. Yeah, I think people can put it in their itinerary, to look out for these places as well, where, they probably would have missed otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And what are the places or activities would you suggest for people traveling with kids? Because it's one thing to keep the kids engaged and for them to have fun as well. So what are the top places that families can visit first?
Sure. So a lot of the places I've already mentioned, the Gateway Arch, first and foremost, the City Museum, you really don't want to miss, especially if you have kids. They're going to love it. You can spend the entire day there. Six Flags, we have a Six Flags in just about 30 minutes west of St. Louis. So, and it has a big water park at the Six Flags. We have a wonderful children's museum called the Magic House, and that's in the neighborhood of Kirkwood. That has been renovated over the years. It's serves children from birth to 10 years, 10, 12 adults, age. So that's a great place to go. I mentioned Forest Park, the zoo, the Science Center. Those are definite places. When my son was little, we were going through Forest Park, and they had the Forest Park hot air balloon race going on. And my son mentioned, "This is the best city ever." He just thought that was just so great. So so it really is, you're going to find just tons and tons of things for your family to do in St. Louis.
Parents take note. Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
and
Exactly.
how about the outdoor or adventure enthusiasts? Where would they go?
So, first and foremost, when I think of outdoor adventure, I think of the Mississippi River. So, we have a company in St. Louis called Big Muddy Adventures on the Mississippi River. And they do, believe it or not, large canoe trips down the Mississippi River. So, when I think of adventure, I can't think of anything more adventurous than that. The Mississippi is a big, big river. So, that's a lot of fun. There's riverboat cruises. There's zip lining. I mentioned the Great River Road over in Grafton, Illinois. I believe there's zip lining over there. There are Trek bicycle tours that you can take. Trek St. Louis or Trek bicycles. They have different types of bikes that you can do tours on.
Have you done any of these?
No. I mentioned I was a ranger for the Gateway Arch National Park. I've been to the top of the arch over 200 times, but that's about it.
And
Yeah, that
yeah. Okay, that brings me to another favorite topic. So shopping and in a city that you visit. So what are the places that tourists can go to buy back some souvenirs or local things?
So we do have a couple outdoor farmers market type places in St. Louis. We have the oldest outdoor market west of the Mississippi River. It's called Soulard Farmers Market, opened in 1779, and that's open every weekend on Fridays and Saturdays. That's downtown St. Louis, and that's a great place to go and get some souvenirs of St. Louis. Also, there's the Kirkwood Farmers Market. That's another neighborhood where there's one. As far as stores, there's a store called Missouri Threads that's down on 4th Street and Washington Avenue downtown. And that's a great place for souvenirs. The Arch store in the Gateway Arch National Park, good place. The gift shop at the Missouri Botanical Garden is lovely. Lots of good St. Louis and garden souvenirs that you can get there.
And so what do you mean those type items? What are the things that they should buy back that scream St. Louis?
Sure, yeah. Replicas of the arch are very popular. Puzzles, things having to do with the arch, things like that. Um, St. Louis Cardinal gear, St. Louis Battlehawks gear, St. Louis Blues gear. These are all our sports teams. These are very big souvenirs, hats, t-shirts, that type of stuff. Jewelry, St. Louis represented. The fleur de lis is our symbol of our city, and I see that often displayed in jewelry around town. So,
Nice. I wouldn't mind some of those. And
yeah.
is it common to bargain though when you're buying these things from the local markets?
I don't see that so much. The bargaining, most of the places have a pretty set price. And now when it comes to souvenir buying, I think you can always barter, right? Mostly these markets though are vegetable or produce or food type markets that I
Mm.
was talking about before. So.
Okay, okay. So no bargain. And are there any outlet malls?
Mm. Yes, there are. There's one in particular out in Chesterfield, Missouri. It's considered St. Louis. It's about 20 minutes west of downtown, and that's called the St. Louis Premium Outlet Mall. That's the main one that I know of.
Okay, that's and coming to weather, so weather-wise, when is the best time to visit St. Louis?
So we have all four seasons here in the Midwest in St. Louis. So winter can be very cold and icy and rainy. Springtime, windy and rainy. Summer in St. Louis is hot and humid. And the fall is lovely, very pretty, lots of change of colors in the trees and nice weather. So prime time for families, of course, summertime, June, July, August, that time period. If you're coming without children or you want to travel without school groups and stuff on their field trips, you can probably hit most of the major places like the Gateway Arch in April or September in September after the schools have gone back in session. Now, January and February can be tough. I'd say, that's usually a downtime tourist season wise anyway. And here it's going to be pretty cold. What you're going to find is a lot of businesses may be shut down during that time, either for vacations or renovation because it is a down tourist season time.
Right.
So always check in advance before you go. Check before you go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's good advice. Is there anything that, they should keep in mind to pack when they visit St. Louis, no matter what time of the year?
Rain gear.
Oh,
Definitely rain gear. Yeah, at least an umbrella or light jacket. And again, you're gonna want to, no matter how hot it is, always bring a light jacket because when you head into that air conditioning, it's gonna be so cold that you're gonna wish that you had something, you know.
would they be able to rent it in the city or buy it?
Not so much rented, but yeah, you most of the stores have, long sleeve shirts or sweatshirts or umbrellas or jackets. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's the minimum number of days that they should definitely spend in St. Louis to cover the basic minimum, the bare minimum?
The bare minimum, the minimum number of days. Well, most people like to do a week's vacation. I'd say that's the bare minimum. Really, do I need to mention again? There's 79 neighborhoods that you need to visit and do every fun activity that you can think of that we have. So definitely a good week's vacation would really show you around town. Even hitting major highlights is going to take at least 4 days,
Hmm.
so yeah, a minimum 4 days, better to be a week, better 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. I think 1 week, bare minimum, then would be
Yeah,
a comfortable timeline for them to see
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
for sure.
Speaking of 79 neighborhoods, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
79.
okay.
Wow. So which ones are the best places for nightlife and entertainment?
So we're very big on the arts here in St. Louis. We have several different theater venues that house different numbers of people. We have the largest, still the largest outdoor theater and oldest here in St. Louis. It's called the Muni, and it's in Forest Park. And it shows Broadway shows throughout the summertime, June, July, and August. So and those shows aren't until 8:15 in the evening. They happen at nighttime outside, so it's nice and cool. There's also one of our neighborhoods is called the Loop, because the trolley used to loop from there to another neighborhood. And so in the Loop, we have places like the Pageant is a concert venue where you can go to see a really nice concert. Downtown, we have several concert venues, the Dome, the Sheldon, the Enterprise Center. All of these places are great to see a local concert or something going on at night.
Okay, and how about neighborhoods for shopping and malls and boutiques?
Yeah, again, the Loop is a really nice neighborhood for that. Lots of shops and boutiques. Delmar Road, where the Loop is located, I think was named like one of the top 10 American roads in the United States. So for entertainment. So that is also where we have this really, in Hollywood, they have the Hollywood Walk of Fame where they have a star for their famous people. Well, we have the St. Louis Walk of Fame in the Loop, and there's 150 bronze stars named for people who were important to St. Louis in one way or another. So definitely down there in the Loop is a great place for that. Brentwood, Kirkwood, Soulard, these are all neighborhoods that have lots of good shopping areas. Cherokee Street is what we might call antique row.
Mm.
So that's a good place as well.
Oh, nice. And how about the neighborhoods or the districts with great views?
Oh, great views. I'd say downtown has the best views of the arch and the river. There's going to be places, pockets of neighborhoods all over St. Louis that have good views of the bluffs and the rivers. We have lots of rivers that circle through St. Louis. So mainly downtown is going to give you the best view of the arch and the river.
Okay, and how about the scenic places?
Places like Pure Marquette in Grafton, Illinois, Alton, Illinois, anywhere you can get along one of the rivers on top of the bluffs, you're going to get some really nice views.
Okay, lovely. And how about places with like hotspots for cafes and restaurants?
Washington Avenue is what used to be the old garment district, where they used to warehouse and sell shoes and hats and all of that way back in the day. But it has been converted to updated to restaurants, and it's where the National Blues Museum is. There's a movie theater there now. It's downtown where the America Center is, next to the Dome, where our new St. Louis Battlehawks football team plays. So the Washington Avenue district, it has lots of good restaurants. Also, the Grand Arts Center, as well as what we call the Ville, or the Grove. The Grove is another neighborhood where you're going to find some local breweries like Urban Chestnut, and they have a nice restaurant. So those are just a couple of the neighborhoods, I think, where you can find some really good food. As don't forget the Hill, the Italian place.
And yeah, if you had to break down these popular restaurants and fit them to a traveler type, like, okay, this is a good fit for, let's say, larger groups of friends, and this is a good fit for families, or maybe this is a good fit for a solo traveler. Is there any way you can break them down for us?
No. That's a lot of restaurants. Well, let's see. So again, downtown, that Washington Avenue district really is going to be more of a, I guess, more of a couples area, more of more nightlife or dinner type. It's also a good place for business lunches as well. So yeah, there are places like that that tend to lend themselves more to the older group. Some of the smaller places like Kirkwood or Brentwood are going to be rather family oriented. They're out in what we call the suburbs of St. Louis. So there's going to be lots of family style restaurants there in the smaller neighborhoods rather than downtown.
Right. And which neighborhood would you say is like good for budget travelers, like the stays or the accommodations there are like not very highly priced?
Right. Definitely the Forest Park area. That's where, that's the park where everything's free. Not only are all the institutions there free, but there's lots of activities that happen there. In September, if you really want to do a nice weekend, family budget friendly, come to the Forest Park Great Balloon Race. It's fantastic. I think this is the 52nd year. It happens on a weekend, and they have a balloon glow at night, and the next day they race the hot air balloons, and it's just amazing. There's also a free concert given by the St. Louis Symphony to open the season for the fall. That happens in Forest Park as well. Right now, between the end of May and the end of June, is the Shakespeare Festival and the free play going on there as well. If you go to the Muni, I mentioned that's the oldest and largest outdoor theater. Every night for when there's a performance going on, they give away 500 free seats to see there. So every neighborhood holds its charm, and if you just find the best budget friendly places, but definitely Forest Park holds a lot of I think probably the best bang for your buck, as you might say.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah. And now that you've been like here for so many years, which is your like pick of the accommodations? Like which hotel or stay do you really, really like and you always recommend to your guests?
Yeah, in the past, I would always recommend Drury hotels. I'm not sure if they're a Midwest chain. I have people come to St. Louis and say that they've never heard of them. But we have like 4 Druries just in our downtown area alone. And my husband and I do a little bit of traveling, and we like to stay at a Drury. They're very nice. However, we do have a new place in St. Louis. It's called a 21C Museum Hotel. It's a art museum as well as a hotel. It's fabulous. You go in and you can tour all the different museums, galleries within the museum. And this particular one is in an old YMCA building in downtown St. Louis. So the pool is original from way back in the early like 1900s here in St. Louis. So uh, it's just fantastic. So I've been had a tour of that hotel recently. So I've been recommending that one to people. So um, I haven't heard anything adverse yet. So
That sounds about right, because I know you're a history buff, and you would definitely
yes.
like something like that, and so would other history buffs, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the pool is just really cool. It's in the basement of the building and there's a new hot tub that they built that is fashioned like the old pool. So yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. And the museum really is exceptional.
Nice. And you spoke about so many festivals and events, right? The balloon race and the Shakespeare Festival. So, are there a lot of festivals happening in the city all year round?
Yes, Missouri in particular always has a lot of festivals. The Midwest is known for festivals. We have a lot of small towns have what are called homecomings, where they just, celebrate the town for the weekend or what have you. So, but in addition to, I mentioned the Forest Park Balloon Race, um, the St. Louis Symphony Opener, the Shakespeare Festival. In Kirkwood, there's the Green Tree Festival. That's a large one, and that's where that Kirkwood Farmers Market is. That's a really nice town to visit. There's also there in Kirkwood is the Lamar Sculpture Park. So if you were going to Kirkwood, you could spend a pretty good day there. The Missouri Botanical Garden offers several festivals throughout the year. On both Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend, they have a Japanese festival, Chinese Culture Days. In October, they have one called Best of Missouri, which is vendors from all over Missouri that come and sell their wares at this particular festival. So that's really good. The Mardi Gras Festival, we're the third largest in the world, I think, after Rio de Janeiro and New Orleans. The Mardi Gras Festival happens usually in February or March, very large parade. June is Pride Month. We have a fantastic Pride Month parade
Mm.
festival that goes on. Festival of Nations in Tower Grove Park. Another one, actually, a really good one at the Missouri Botanical Garden that happens every Wednesday in the summer is the Whitaker Music Festival. And you can come and picnic at the garden on Wednesday nights and get a free concert. So lots of free concerts in the summer at the History Museum and other places as well. So we like to sit outside
Yeah, yeah. I
a
definitely
lot
like the
here.
sound of that.
Yeah, yeah, it's very fun. It's very fun.
That's good to know. Like, so many to choose from. I think there's something for everybody out there. They just have to pick their months right.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
And just to wind this down, I think, yeah, you've been so helpful to answer so many things in detail. But just last, a few culture tips. Like, is it common to tip? Uh, because in some countries it's considered rude. So,
No, it is very common. It's often expected for tipping. Anytime, just think of it anytime somebody's giving you a service of some sort, whether they're helping you carry your bags at the airport or they've just given you a tour of
mm,
St. Louis or they've driven you somewhere. Uh, again, it's any sort of service they've offered you, it is customary to tip. 15% is usually the norm, of course, but anything higher is certainly welcomed, certainly.
okay, that's good to know. Any other culture tips that you would like to make our readers or visitors aware of? It's a tricky one.
St. Louis has the largest sports fans in the world. So culturally, we are all about the sports here in St. Louis. So if you're going to come to St. Louis, try to attend a baseball game or a hockey game or a football game, something like that, and you'll really get the feel of St. Louisans and how much they love their teams.
Thank you so much for all the information, for joining the call and making time for us. I'm sure, our readers and our viewers would find everything very useful because these are the things that you usually want to know before you plan a trip. And you've completely sold St. Louis to me for sure.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad.
And if I
I
go,
hope so.
you'll have to show me around.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Would love to.
Anytime you're in Singapore, I'm happy to show you around.
That's great. Well, it's a deal.
It's a deal. It's a deal. But yeah, thank you so much, Melissa. And it's been so wonderful talking to you and seeing St. Louis through your eyes. I had a wonderful time. And
Thank you.
on
I did too.